Okay, today's lesson is about, it's section 8.4, and it's about binomials, trinomials, polynomials, and how do you find their degree and state what their degree is. Also, how can you arrange polynomials in ascending order? A binomial is simply the sum of two monomials, and a trinomial is the sum of three monomials. And if there are more than three terms, then it's just called a polynomial and it has no special name. Polynomial is a general term. Binomial and trinomial are specific types of polynomials. So polynomial just means the sum of monomials, and binomial and trinomial are for a specific number of monomials. So if that doesn't make a lot of sense, let's just show a few examples here. If we have an expression that's, for instance, 2x squared minus 3y, okay, that is, that has two different terms. And how do we know it's a different term? It'll be separated by a plus or a minus sign in between. So this has a minus sign in between the two. So that's why I know that those are two separate terms. And if you have two separate terms, that's a binomial. Okay, so an example of a trinomial would be something like 4a squared plus 2ab plus 6. Okay, that's a trinomial. And once again, the reason for that is that I have 1, 2, 3 different terms. And once again, I can tell it's a different term because it's separated by plus signs in between them. Okay, so that's a trinomial. If it was 4 or more terms, I would just call it a polynomial. Okay, because there's not a special name if it's more than 3 terms. Okay, so now the question is how do I find the degree of a polynomial? What does that mean? Or first of all, let's just do a monomial. Let's just do one term at a time. And basically the way that you find the degree of a monomial is it is simply the sum of the exponents of all of its variables. The degree is the sum of the exponents of all of the variables. So for instance, if I have 8y to the fourth, the sum of all of the exponents of all of its variables would simply be 4. So the degree equals 4 for this one. If I had something that was like 2xy squared z to the third, then I would add up the sum of all of the exponents, and I have to be really careful that I remember that the x is an x to the first, so I have to count that 1 as well. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, that would be 6. So the degree of that monomial would be 6. Okay, so just add up the sum of all of the exponents of all of the variables. So how do we find the degree of a polynomial? Very similarly, except what you're going to do with a polynomial where you have more than one term. Let's go to the page. Let's just show an example here. If I had 3a plus 7ab plus 6ab squared plus 7, okay? I would first of all try to figure out the degree of all of the different terms. So a to the 3, if I just look at this one, 3a, the degree of that would be 1. 7ab, the degree of that would be 2. 6ab squared, the degree of that would be 3. And 7, the degree would be 0. So the degree of the polynomial, in this case, would be 3, because I take the largest, okay, of the degrees of the individual monomials that make up the polynomial. Okay, so you don't add them together. Okay, it's not 6. Okay, not that. You simply find the one that has the largest, the term that has the largest degree, and you take that degree, and that's the degree of the polynomial. So let's show one more example of that. 6x squared y plus 2xy to the fourth plus 3xy squared. okay? So if I do this, if I look at this term, the degree would be 3. This term, the degree would be 5. This term, the degree would be 3. So 5 is the largest, so the degree of this polynomial would be 5. Okay? Generally speaking, when we arrange polynomials, we always arrange them so that they're in descending order in terms of the powers of x. So if we have, for instance, 6x squared plus 5 minus 8x minus 2x cubed, in algebra this is kind of a weird way to look at it. We wouldn't normally arrange things this way. What we would do is we would look for the highest power of x, which would be the x to the third, and we would put that first. Okay? Just make sure that you be careful that if you have a minus sign in front of it, that that minus sign stays in front of it when you move it. Okay? And then our next highest power would be the 6x squared, so I would add 6x squared. The next highest power would be the negative 8x, so that would come next, and then the 5. Okay, so you can see that we have our x's in decreasing order. Okay, so we have a power of 3, a power of 2, a power of 1, and then no x's at all. Okay, so whenever you arrange polynomials, you should always arrange them in decreasing order. The highest power goes first, and always do it in terms of x if there is an x in the equation. And that's it for today.